Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Mike Johnston from Greensboro College. Welcome, Coach.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's great to talk to you. Got a nice Division III program there up in North Carolina. I'm sure I'll be driving through some point this summer on my way north for our family road trips. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the program, and let's start with recruiting. It's that crazy time of year of showcases and tournaments and that maybe you'll even be down here in March for the ECNL girls event. But it being early February, have you closed out your 23 class? Are you still working on a few? What's kind of your timeline, generally speaking?
So we're still working on a few for 23. We've got a really solid class coming in. We're up to 9 now. Like to get to 12. So,
Wow.
still working on a couple or three. Have a couple coming in over the next few weekends for visits. Like to have that wrapped up probably by the end of the month. We certainly started working on our 24 class. We have some offers out in that class as well. But, the main thing for us is to get a really foundational 23 class that can come in, replace all these players that we lost from this last fall and kind of continue the upswing of the program.
Now, are you looking at any transfer? I mean, transfer portal stuff. 12. It's a big freshman class. Is there a particular reason you have a lot to replace? How does that work?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things we realized last fall was it's very critical to train 11v11, especially at the college level. And we started last fall with 23. Lost one of our top freshmen on day one to an ACL.
Mm.
Kind of went from there, had another season-ending knee injury, some concussion stuff, some COVID stuff, and at the end of the year, there were days we were training with 14 or 15 kids. So I think for us, like this spring, we're training with 16, 14 field players, two keepers. So really vital to get those numbers up so we can train 11v11. I think it really helps not only with competitiveness within training, but in terms of being able to prepare 11v11 with the scouts and stuff, it just makes sense. So, we knew when we came in last March that we wanted this 23 class to be quite big, and they're all quality. So, speaking of the transfer portal, it's kind of a interesting entity for us. We reach out to 10 kids, we hear back from maybe two at our level. You get a kid's transfers from D1 or D2, they think they still want to stay D1 or D2. We do have a solid transfer kid that's visiting this weekend, that I do hope we end up getting. But the portal's kind of been hit and miss for us. For us, it's to find. We've been really good at finding the late 23s, that are realizing kind of their niche and the level they can play. And we've got some really good players that committed, especially late this fall. So that's kind of the crux of our 23 class, kind of in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, is there a roster size that you think is ideal that you're trying to hit?
Yeah, for me, I think that 28 number is good. 24, 25 field players, three keepers for me would be ideal. My druthers, we have two keepers now. Still certainly looking for another one, but our both of our keepers are very quality. They're very young. We have a rising junior, a rising sophomore, who'll compete for time next year. So for me, the ideal roster spot at this level, I think, is 28. Three, four keepers, 24, 25 field players, I think is perfect.
I think if you averaged out every interview I've had, I think it's probably about where you'd land is that 28 to 30 number. But so that makes a lot of sense. Well, are you guys doing any camps uh, at Greensboro, or do you or your staff work other camps to help the recruiting process? Does that fit in at all?
Yeah, so we do both. We're kind of in a unique niche here in Greensboro. So we've got a great relationship with UNC Greensboro. So we go down and work both of their ID camps, and then we have our own ID camp. So we'll have one coming up here in April, and then we have one in July. We had our first ID camp as a staff last July and was really really well attended. We actually ended up having to cap it at 50. We've got a great relationship with a couple of the local clubs around, especially NCFC sent us a lot of kids to that camp, and so it was really quality. So we're looking forward to that this year. But it's always good to get out and see other camps as well. And I will say, certainly we like to promote our camps, but the UNC Greensboro ID camp last summer, in terms of quality, top to bottom, was fantastic. Probably 125, 150 kids, and the quality was really really good. So for us, that helps because it's a quarter mile down the road. We're
Sure.
literally right next door. So it's kind of a unique entity between the two of us, and we have a really good relationship with their staff and vice versa.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, in terms of whether it's at a camp or any of these tournaments that you might be recruiting, is there a hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player? What is it that made one of those 12 players? What is it that you saw that made you really want to offer them and that you want to offer recruits?
I think for us, and it's kind of cliche, but our culture I think is very good. And in the fall, one of the things we talked about was changing the culture. And to a T, all of our players talked about how improved that culture was for us. So for me, I tend to look at, I think I've been doing it long enough now. I tend to look at things maybe other people don't look at. You can have a talented player that if they get subbed off, taking their shin guards, throwing them to the side, those aren't the kids that we recruit. We recruit the kids that are impactful both on the bench. They're out with an injury, they're still up cheering for the team. They're super articulate. We're a high academic institution. Obviously, we look at that as well. But for me, it's kind of the total package. Are they lifting other people up when they're on the field? Are they winning balls in the air? Are they gritting it out? Kind of that intangibles, so to speak, is what we look for. So I think that's really what this 23 class brings are young ladies that are willing to, I guess, buy into the we over me system. And they've all done that for their club teams, high school teams, whatever the case may be. So for us, I think those culture pieces kind of to continue what we're doing here is the most impactful thing for us.
No, that's good stuff. And as much as I try to tell kids, that they are watching, how you react, whether it's when something goes wrong or coming off the field, and what that culture is. What are you saying to your teammates? I think it's a big important thing. So that's great to hear. In terms of um, you know, cost of attendance, right? I got a high school girl, right? I'm starting to think, okay, what's this going to cost me? So I'm not holding you to hard numbers here, but can you give me an idea, especially since you guys are D3 with no athletic money, what is an average student athlete on the soccer team coming in looking at in terms of what aids available, academic scholarships, that sort of stuff?
So we have a pretty interesting tiered system of scholarships here. We have everything from kids that are high academians in the 4.0s that get close to fully funded merit academic scholarships. The price at GC proper dropped during COVID, and they dropped it about 15 grand. And luckily, knock on wood, we're doing okay. They've kind of left it at that. So everyone that comes in generally gets something, whether that's just a few thousand off the top or anywhere between a few thousand and kind of the full academic merit, which I think we have four for our campus. So, we're a school of about 1,500, so you bring in 250 undergraduates a year and you get four of those, that's, they don't grow on trees. But, we typically very proud of our academics as a soccer family. Last spring, we had a 3.6. This fall, we had a 3.492. So, we kind of hold ourselves to a standard for this spring. We want to reach that 3.6 goal again as a family. We have lots of kids with 4.0s that graduate and never get less than an A in a class. So for us, it's important to us. But there is aid available, both need based through the FAFSA and then school based through merit academic money.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school in terms of, you said, high academics, which is great, and it's right there in Greensboro. But, what are some of those awesome things about the school that maybe I'm not going to learn just by clicking through the website?
Yeah, it's for me, and to be completely transparent, I'm a public school guy. I went to school next door at UNC Greensboro and I have 2 degrees from there and actually work there. And coming over to Greensboro College was unique for me because it is a smaller school. We're a school of about 1,500. But the cool thing about Greensboro is, number one, the relationships with the faculty, with each other. All the athletes are very close. More than half of our students play a sport, which is a unique entity. But we're actually in the historic district of Greensboro. So we're in a beautiful setting, but we're 4 blocks away from downtown. And when you're on campus, you would never know we're that close to downtown. But when you stand at our field and you turn around at our home bench, you see all the buildings of downtown Greensboro, which is like super fantastic view. And so we get kids reaching out to us on Instagram. We'll have a 6 a.m. training and we'll post a picture of the sunrise. And they're like, man, that's awesome. You're that close to downtown. So there's always something to do. And then I think the other unique entity for us is we are right next door to UNC Greensboro. So yeah, we're a small school of 1,500, but if the kids want a bigger school environment, they're actually allowed to take classes at UNCG through Greensboro College tuition if the class isn't offered at GC. So it's a really cool consortium we have with UNCG. And I think that relationship and the fact that we're 4 blocks away from downtown kind of separates us. It really does. It's a super scenic setting, but on the weekends, the kids can walk downtown 3, 4 blocks away, have fun, you know, places to eat, minor league baseball, great performing arts center. So it's a really unique entity, and being that close to downtown certainly helps sell the school for sure.
Yeah, that does sound pretty amazing. I can't wait to check it out for myself. I haven't been there yet, but it's on my list
Yeah,
for
well, we
sure.
welcome you anytime, my friend.
Awesome. Well, we're talking about the academic side of things. It can be difficult, especially at the high academic D3 level, to balance sports and studies. So specifically, how do your student athletes kind of manage the balance between those two things, and what kind of support systems does the school offer to help them?
Yeah, I think time management is really critical. And I've been fortunate enough since I've been here, we've had some really impactful leaders. And so I think peer leadership is super important. So, we have a freshman that'll struggle in biology, and our senior leader will say, I got you. So I think the peer leadership is where it starts. We also have some really good resources on campus. We have the Peak Center, which is our center that helps kids with papers, with research, with jobs, with summer internships, on and on. And that's a super impactful relationship that the athletes can use and students alike can use. So it's a really close family. And we never want to see a student not succeed. So there are several facets that we can have to help the student succeed. And every freshman that comes in has an advocate or an advisor that's a little, I guess, closer than what I was used to in a larger public institution that they can rely on if they need it in terms of academic support, social help, mental health is big on campus. Our counseling service, obviously, 2023 is fantastic. So I think some of those resources that we can tap into is really impactful for these young women.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear that there are those things available for everybody. Well, in terms of being on campus and a soccer player, and you're in the middle of school and everything, take me back to the fall. It's during the season. Give me an average week for a player. When are they waking up? When's training? When are classes? Kind of what's the game cadence? What's everything look like?
Yeah, so our typical week, one of the interesting things is I'm also director of sports performance here at Greensboro College. So the weight room is important to us. The recovery is important to us. So during the season, we lift twice a week. So our game days are typically Wednesday and Saturday. So for us, we typically lift on Mondays and Thursdays during the season. So a typical week when you lift, they'll wake up, we'll lift from 7 to 7:45. They'll have a day full of classes. Our training time last fall was 5:30 to 7:30. Then after training, obviously dinner and then homework on their own. And obviously that varied a little bit. We share a field, our field is very good, but we share it with both lacrosse, football, and men's soccer. So we have 2 hour slots that we fit practices into, especially during our training time in the fall. So a typical day, if they have weights, they're waking up at 6:15, 6:30 to get the weights by 7. If it's a regular training day, it just depends on their class schedule. A lot of them actually prefer to take the 8 a.m. classes just so they can have the rest of the day to relax, eat lunch, do things like that. But our classes are offered throughout the day, anywhere from 8 in the morning to 8, 9 at night. So that's typically what a day for an athlete would look like based on whether we're lifting or we're, kind of having a recovery day.
Okay. Well, in terms of the soccer side of things, we talked about roster size. What about overall staff size? How big is your staff? What role does everybody play there?
Yeah, so we have a staff of 4, which I think is a really good size for any school. But I will tell you, I would put our staff up against most anyone in the country. My first assistant, Maddie Karch, played here, was an all-conference player here, high academics. She's an exercise physiologist at Wake Forest now. Super impactful for the girls, great leader. still runs with them, actually kicks their tails when we're running, kind of gives them a role model to look up to. And then our volunteer assistant, Coach Papier, Jake, has been with me for years throughout different stops at the prep school level around here, and he's fantastic. Certainly wise beyond his years. And then our goalkeeper coach was actually a standout down the street at UNC Greensboro, Coach Black, Jennifer Black. And so she brings a wealth of experience. So I think we've got a good mix of youth and kind of elder statesmen on our staff. And I mean, again, the staff is fantastic. And in terms of the way that those three, can deal with the kids and relate to the kids is super, super cool and super special. I think we've got I'm certainly very fortunate that we have such a good staff here.
Oh, that's tremendous. Well, I think most D3 schools would be jealous of a staff of 4. I know even when I was D2, it was a staff of me. So,
Right.
uh, well, in terms of the coaching style, how would you describe your coaching style and just the overall style of play of the team?
Yeah. So coaching style for me is very simple, and it's person first, player second. And that's something I'll always hang my hat on is you have to be relational. You have to have relationships with players first before you can get them to trust you. And then in turns, you have that relationship between coach and player. In terms of our coaching style as a staff, we're very much, our job is in practice. So practice is our time, games are the players' time. So we're not the type that are going to stand for 90 minutes. We'll certainly make corrections, but practice time is our time. And so our thing is, if you want to earn playing time, you earn it in practice. And we want to compete every training session we do. In terms of style, we want to keep it. We want to knock it around. We want to play through the center of the park. We want to get in line. It was interesting. I had it in my mind when we came in here, we were going to play a 4-2-3-1. We were going to keep it. We were going to be a possession team. And, our best freshman went down on night 2 with an ACL tear. So we had to change some things up. We ended up playing a 3-5-2, way more attacking than I anticipated us being to start last year. And we were fantastic. And I think we realized if kids buy in, that they can, if kids buy into playing different spots, you can morph to a system based on the personnel you have. And that's what we did. And to give you an example, we had one of our best players, one of our rising senior captains, was an outside forward for us a whole year. Getting the conference tournament last year, had to have her, move her to right back. And I mean, she didn't miss a beat. Absolutely hit on all cylinders, played both conference tournament games back there. And so that's kind of our motto or our creed is, you got to be willing to do whatever you can for the team. And then us as coaches need to be able to adapt based on the personnel that we have available.
Okay. Well, we're talking in February. It's the off season. What does your off season look like for the team? What are you guys going to be doing between, say, when they came back to school in January till end of May?
Yeah. So when we got back in January, the kids are in the weight room 2 times a week, and then they have open field 3 times a week. So open field is obviously captain driven. We can't use that for evaluation or anything. They're just out there playing around, and they have open field, open gym. Occasionally we'll see some of them up in the gym playing wall ball, doing stuff on their own. And then we're in the weight room 2 times a week. And, we've done some fun stuff, just me being in sports performance. We've had some speed and agility sessions this spring. We do it in conjunction with volleyball and other women's sports on campus, which is cool to kind of forge those relationships with other athletes. And then when we come back after spring break, so middle of March, we start our non-traditional season, which is a 5-week season. We're allowed to train 17 days over those 5 weeks. And then we'll go down to Catawba, which is a D2 school near Charlotte. And we'll play a couple friendlies down there, for our competition day. And then, once that concludes in mid-April, they'll go back to doing some stuff on their own. And then May 1st, they're out of here and they'll have their summer packet they'll start working on, and we'll start gearing up for the sport-specific phase of weight training, which is in their packet, which they have, June and July leading up into coming back here.
Okay. Well, you've mentioned the sports performance side of things. Do you guys use any sort of technology, whether that's video, GPS, anything during the season for training games, anything like that?
Yeah, so we do video. I wish I could say we had GPS. I'm jealous of the bigger schools that are able to use those toys, and I've asked for those, and hopefully at some point we can start with a couple and build from there. But we do use a lot of video. We do use some heart rate monitoring stuff in terms of just taking it on their own, in terms of heart rate reserve and those calculations. And we will start doing those things in the future. But we don't have any of the, I guess, the standard tech toys that the big boys have, so to speak. But the girls are really good at knowing their bodies, eating right, recovering right, sleeping. And one of the things we have here is we have a fantastic aquatic center. We have a pool here, the athletic center. So we use that for recovery. And to give you an example, we play a conference tournament game on the road, quarterfinals, grit out a 1-0 win, have to go to the top seed Methodist 2 days later last fall. In between day, we're not training. We got in the pool. We did a 30-minute pool recovery workout. The girls are all in the sports med center using the crowd cuffs and the boots and regen and recovery tools down there, and we use those a lot in conjunction with sports med. So that's kind of how we do recovery and performance here, so to speak.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. Well, Coach, we've covered a lot of ground, but I always end these the same way, and that's what didn't we cover? What else would you like folks to know, whether it's about the college recruiting process, about your school, the team, anything else? I leave you with the last word.
Yeah, I would just say, Greensboro is a fantastic area. I've been fortunate enough to be around here for a while. And GC in and of itself, we call it a hidden gem of the Southeast. And one of the things is when you come to school here, you're 2 hours away from skiing in the winter in the mountains, and you're 2 hours, 45 minutes away from the beach and ocean in the summer. So, it's kind of a perfect setting in terms of school. And even though we're small in stature, I think there's a ton to offer, and the location proper. I mean, North Carolina is beautiful. I think it sells itself. And, I would just say for all those out there that are kind of on the fence about looking at the smaller schools, is give Greensboro a chance, because it really is a beautiful area.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, it's been great talking to you. If you do get down here in March for ECNL, give me a shout. We'll grab a cup of coffee or something. And we'll
Absolutely.
wish you the best of luck in the spring, and hopefully get even more dubs in the fall.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I certainly appreciate you having me on, man. Best of luck.
Thank you.